Newzroom Africa's senior politics reporter Ziyanda Ngcobo is at the Union Buildings. And Ziyanda, are you standing by to speak to the party spokesperson on education to tell us what their plans are for that particular sector? Good morning.
And you can see that scores of DA people have already started to make their way here to the Union Buildings lawns. They started off with the march, of course, from Church Square. But let's bring in Bax Nodada, as you've already mentioned. He is the DA Shadow Minister for Basic Education. It's no secret that there's lots of criticism against our education system. The minister says her focus, if she were to return to that position, would be on early childhood development. What is the DA going to tell us today about basic education?
Look, thank you so much for having me today. We've got a very clear policy proposal that will rescue children from a failing public education system. Number one, we want to make sure that children have an average of 210 days in school from early childhood development at grade R, focusing on the foundation phase of numeracy and literacy, and allocating 2 hours per day for children to specifically improve their reading and writing, and an hour for numeracy. Secondly, we need to ensure that we deal with infrastructure challenges in our schools, because there's inequality there. We've built a school in 65 days in the Western Cape, and we're using alternative technology to build schools quicker so that learners have a conducive learning environment, eradicate pit toilets, eradicate mud and asbestos building, and make sure that children have got labs, libraries in schools so that they can succeed. Thirdly, we want to make sure we remove the trade union stranglehold on teacher appointments in our schools to make sure that we get quality teachers in place, upskill our teachers, diversify the curriculum to include a curriculum that you can use to be able to gain skills to participate in the economy and get jobs or become an entrepreneur or be innovative. These are some of the things in our policy, but these are things we're already implementing where we govern already. So this is the offer that we have for South Africans. We've put our rescue plan there so that we make sure that a child born in Mhlanga, or a child born in Soweto, or a child born in Khayelitsha or Cape Town, Kukumbu in the rural areas, get the same best quality education.
And just yesterday, we heard of a story of a 13-year-old shooting a school principal. How would you deal with the violence in our schools, which isn't necessarily something that I think the DA in the Western Cape has had to contend with?
Look, we need psychosocial support for our schools, because countries that deal mainly with behavioral challenges of learners in schools, they are societal problems. A school is is part of a microcosm of society. So it's important for us to have psychosocial support in hotspot areas where we allocate. We have a program as part of our policy that said we'll allocate psychologists, social work students, not to only support the learners in that particular school, but to make sure that we support the parents and that particular community. But also the support that we give to children. We must make sure they get 2 meals a day, for example, so that you can enhance their learning. We need to give them career guidance so that we make sure that they understand that the only way out of their circumstances of birth is actually quality education. And it's important for us to have those behavioral chats that we need to have in our schools and that psychosocial support so that we curb the behavioral challenges, particularly in hotspot areas, because it's not everywhere, but we know where the challenges are, so we need to intervene strategically in those particular areas.
All right, Bax Nodada is the DA's Shadow Minister on basic education, one of the critical areas, of course, that will form part of the DA's manifesto launch today, that will be delivered by DA leader John Steenhuisen. And we can expect as well for there to be an emphasis on that multi-party charter. DA leader John Steenhuisen really speaking about how when he first mentioned the Moonshot Pact in April 2023, not many people believed in this vision, and that in the last year they've made significant strides in terms of being able to bring together those 11 odd opposition parties to discuss how they would take the country forward. And so the DA believes that because it would have the most number of votes within that multi-party charter, that they are actually, puts them in good stead to be leaders of this particular government that would be formed, a coalition government. I just want to step out of shot and show you the scores of DA supporters who have now arrived here at the launch of the union buildings, and perhaps let's try to speak to some of them. Good morning, you're live on Newzroom Afrika. Okay, some of them are shy. Let's try to speak to you. What do you think the DA is going to bring you?
To bring for me?
Yes, the change. You're here in support of the DA. What do you want to hear from John Steenhuisen?
I think the DA will bring more economic power in South Africa. People will be employed, more especially young people. The percentage of the unemployment, more especially for the young people now, is not good for South Africa. And just think, young people are the future of tomorrow for this country. And without them, we are heading for the disaster. And I say to people, 2024, we are just at the brink of Bay Bridge, and should ANC win again, we are in Zimbabwe.
All right, so that's one of the DA supporters that's here, of course, to listen to that manifesto launch. The official program set to begin at 12 noon, Dudu.
All right, Ziyanda Ngcobo, thank you very much for that report.